All right, let's continue. From where we stopped in our last class, I'll just go over the whole of what we did in the. Okay, this is basically what we did in the last class, right? All of these guys here, picking picking these contents, adding it to the paragraph, right? That's what we did, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'll go over that. Explain what happened there, just because we lost the old video, and then we'll continue. So we have a function that's adding event listener. So this is supposed to be on create blog and blog paragraph. This should be. This guy shouldn't be the create blog. This should be the create blog. So maybe I think I'm naming this guy wrongly. Yeah. So
Mhm. So I've been able to figure out my problem.
oh
I've
wow,
fixed it.
yeah, that's interesting. Push your code. Let's see. So I think
Okay.
this guy is also disabled because I can't mute someone anymore. Google is just being funny. So Sebastian, maybe you might have to mute yourself. We're getting some background noise from you. Sebastian, can you hear us? For some reason best known to Google, they can't allow me to mute anymore. Sebastian, can you hear us? So this guy, we shouldn't call. We should call this add paragraph. Really. Makes more sense this way. So add paragraph, and then we fetch add paragraph. Add paragraph. So we fetch this guy. That's what we're doing with the ID. We fetch this guy with the ID and put a click. Aha. So we're not even supposed to do this. So just look at that nice adding an empty stuff. You're not supposed to add when it's empty. Alright. So we fetch this guy and add a click event on it, which is what we are doing here. We get the elements that has add paragraph, add a click event on it, and which function do we run? We run this function when that event is fired. So here we grab the element, the test area with the ID. We grab the test area with the ID, and then we continue what we're doing. So first we pick out the value of the test area. We pick it out. So let me put um, that check if no value. Do we need to show? We have an error this thing, right? Yeah, we have an error alert stuff. I forgot. Yeah. Call the alert. I forgot we have this class. Call the alert and then show this message, show alert.error. Yeah, so let me try it. It should work there, all things being equal. So if no value const show alert equals new show alert. This is a class, so instantiate it. So the error message comes on the error method. Okay, so I could say return because I don't want it to execute every any other thing. So return show alert dot error. So there's an issue. Yeah. No. Message. Alright guys, so we can switch to the other meeting before this one ends. I'm actually just share the link. It's taking so long too. So let's switch to the meeting. This one here. Alright, so I'll continue what we're explaining. I need to import this error message, error.js here too. Oh, that's true. I need it here. No, it's alerts. It's inside script. I'm actually. We're getting we're getting a background noise from your side. The other guys are not here yet. Arinze and Co. What's going on? Arinze and the other guy is not here yet. I don't know why. So for you to be able to use that alert, that class in alert.js, you need to import it inside here. So I've done that. I come back here. So let me try this again. I know it's going to suggest. Yeah, suggesting now. It wasn't suggesting before. So empty paragraph. We could use a better error message. Or let's just use this. So let's try this out. Yeah. So it's happening so fast. If you're loading as fast as it's happening, that means, yeah, because of this return. So I probably should also put this here, because this return will not allow you to execute any other thing here. So the solution will be to make this the first thing, so it will prevent that default before it will even start any other thing. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so you can stay a little longer, and then we'll take it out. So it's not working. Why is it not working? Yeah, we need to load JavaScript also for what's it called, Bootstrap, because that thing is using Bootstrap. So where did we? I think we use it in login. So let me get the JavaScript I loaded in the login for Bootstrap. Yeah, this is it. So anything that's using that is provided by Bootstrap and is using JavaScript, you need to link the JavaScript to that page also. It's actually one of the annoying things that what's it called, writing HTML and JS like this does. You repeat a lot of things in a lot of places. So let's try it again. Yeah. Alright, so the error message is fine now. That means we can't add empty paragraph anymore. Let's move on. Let me delete some things. A lot of things are here. Are we still together?
Yes.
Alright, so we just did this guy to help show an error message when we try to enter an empty paragraph. Also, if you don't want to use this error message, you could just say only do this if there is a value. So you could just say if value, then do all of this. If I'm doing it, this is actually the way I prefer it, because sometimes error messages can be annoying if you keep displaying a lot. So I could just say if excuse me, if there's nothing there, don't even do anything at all. Alright, so that also works. So if it's empty, it doesn't do anything until we add something, then it has well added. Alright, so either way it's fine. If you want to do this, is fine. If you want to do this, is fine. So which one are we going with, first or second?
Second.
Second, okay, yeah, so let's move to the second one. So now let me explain what we did here. So if there is no value, we only do this when there is value. So if there is value, do this, else don't do anything, just keep quiet, be looking at us. Right? So now if there is value and we come into this place, now we're going to check if it's an update. Remember, we set a boolean that's tracking whether we are doing an update, because if we do an update, it's still here that we're going to use and add it back. All right, so we need to differentiate when is an update from when is a new one. So that's why we created that boolean to be tracking it. So if there is an update, if it's an update, increase the paragraph count. All right. So let me do something. Let me make this simpler too, because we are checking the same thing here too. So instead of doing this, I can say if it's an update, do this. Okay. I think it's fine because I'm assigning here too. There's no points. I mean, know if you can try and unmute Sebastian and see if you can. You are the host, so I can't mute him. And then I don't know, Ariza is not in the meeting. I don't know if he knows. But let's move on. So if it's not an update, then we want to increase the paragraph count. So this paragraph count is keeping track of the number of paragraphs. All right. So if you have one, it will tell, okay, we'll have 1, 2, 3. So that's like the count that tells us the number of paragraphs we have already. So if it's not an update, that means it's a new one. Then increase the count. If it's an existing one we're editing, we don't need to increase the count. Now, we also need to know the ID of the paragraph. So if it's a new one, it doesn't have an ID yet. But if it's an existing one, then it has an ID. Remember, we also have a variable that's keeping track of the edit ID. So the ID we are trying to edit. So if it's a new one, then assign that paragraph count, which happens here. That increment in paragraph counts that we're doing here in line 24. If it's not a new one, then assign the edit ID, the variable holding the ID of the paragraph we're editing. Assign it to it. Now we create the paragraph itself, the content. We have so we call this paragraph, but I think that was when we were still using paragraph. Now we're using divs, but somehow we're still stuck with calling it paragraph. That's fine. So we have a div, all right, and then we created a div. This is just a string. It's not a div yet. It's just a string. But when we now move it to the front end, it becomes a div and a real element. Created a string that has a class block paragraph because we have this class and the one we have in our HTML. So we're trying to create another one. We still need to put those classes so that it will reflect. We have a class block paragraph with a row, and then we have a div inside it that is holding the value, and another div that is holding the delete and the edit stuff. So we have this div. We create this div for holding the value, and then the div for holding this delete and edit guy. All right. And then what else do we do? So when we do that, we also check. Now we are supposed to add it to the block templates object, keeping track of our templates. But we need to check if it's an edit or if it's an update, a new one. So if it's an update, instead of assigning a new ID to it, what we do is to okay, I don't even need to check this because at this point the ID takes, I don't need to check this. I think this is fine. This should be fine. So because this ID now at this point takes the right value depending on whether it's an edit or a new one. So let me just confirm that it's fine, but it should be fine. So I add an extra E behind it. Yeah, it's fine. So there's no point doing that check again. So we depending on what the ID is, which is dependent on whether it's an update or an edit or a new one, we assign the new block template, the new template we created, to the object. Now let me explain what is happening, what I'm doing here. Normally we know that when you have an object const, let's say username, const user equals, then user will have a name. Name is Akindele. Sex is female. Age is 20. All right. Now, if you want to change any of this, we could say user.age equals 35, or we could say user age. Okay, not. I'm sorry. It's going to be a string. Age equals 35. This will change the age inside this object. All right. Now, it doesn't make so much sense to do this, because why do I need to do it? But it makes sense when you don't, like when you are trying to change the value and you don't know what the value is. Here we know that this is age, but assuming this value, the
It's a new day. It's a new life.
all right. So are you guys still with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it wouldn't make so much sense to use this, but then when you don't know what the key is, let's say I want you to change user, but you don't know which one you're going to be changing. Let's say the one to be changed is coming from a front end application or from somewhere, and you don't know whether it's the age, the sex, or the name they want to change, but you know they want to change something, and whatever they want to change is inside this user, right? So all you need to do is to accept whichever one they want to change as a string, and because it's a string, you can't say user dot this. It's not going to work, right? So that's when this becomes useful. You could put it inside this bracket, and then it will pick whatever matches, whichever of the keys matches this string here, and change it. That's exactly what I'm doing. So because I know I'm assigning the IDs depending on the count, so if it's the first paragraph, the count is going to be 1 or 0. Okay, it starts from 0. So if it's the first paragraph, let me even call it 1. Let it start from 1. All right. So if it's the first paragraph, I'm going to start from 1, and then if it's okay, hold on. If it's not an update, increase. So if we are increasing, yeah, 0 is fine. We are increasing here. So if it's a new paragraph that is not an update, we increase the count. So, but at each point, we are getting the ID, which can be any number, and that's what we're using as a key inside this object to keep track of our blog, the templates we have, these things. So what I'm doing is I use that ID as a key inside this object block template. So locate whatever key here and assign this guy to it. So if it's a new one, it's going to create a new one. If it's an existing one, it's going to replace it. So that's what it's doing. So we don't need to remove that existing one. So when we want to update, if it checks and it's the same key, to replace it with the new value. That's what's going on. Now let me take this out. Any questions? Do you understand it? I hope you do. So I'll move on. If you don't, let me know. So when we assign the new templates to our block templates, then at any time we do that, we know that the templates have changed. So we need to call this display paragraph again to redisplay whatever is in that template. If not, if we don't call this guy, even when the template changes, it's not going to be displaying. It will still be as if nothing changed. So we assign the template, then we'll call this function to fetch whatever is inside this block template. So we fetch it and then display it. So initially we're using an array and then joining the contents and stuff, but because this guy is an object, we can't treat it exactly as an array. So all I do is to use this object of values to pick out only the values of the objects and return it. So this object of values picks out the values of an object and returns it as an array. So that's how I'm able to convert this guy to that array we had before, and then use a join to join it, and then continue whatever we're doing on it before. And what is it we're doing? We fetch the block contents. There is an element to give an ID of block content, if you remember, in our here. So this guy will give you an ID of block content. So we fetch it. It's empty. So all we'll do is to fetch it and then put stuff inside it. So we fetch it. We'll now assign this template as is inner HTML. So by the time we push it as the inner HTML, it will translate all of these guys to a HTML. If I console log this, you see that it's just a string of combination of things like this. That's probably what you see if I console log this guy. But when you push it inside this inner HTML, it will convert it to a HTML and display it. You can also try to create a HTML element and then put it inside this guy's the child element, but then this does it faster and with simple smaller lines of code, so we'll stick to that. So that's that for that. And then the test area element, which is this guy, we clear it. So when we assign a value to this one, we clear it. If not, it will remain there. So we clear it by assigning empty string to it. All right. And then once we display the paragraph, we need to assign event listeners to these buttons again, because remember, each time we create new elements, it takes out the old event listeners we added. So we need to reassign those event listeners to this guy and this guy. So we pick out the two elements, the paragraph to edit. It's no longer paragraph, just forget that we are calling it paragraph. Remember, we were using paragraph here before. So paragraph to edit, and they want to delete. So we pick out the element, and then on the so we pick out the paragraph that we want to delete or edit, depending on which button we clicked on. So so we loop through them. We loop through the paragraphs. So whether it's 1 or 2, it can be 1, it can be 2. In this case, it's 1. If I add another 1, it becomes 2. So we loop through all of them, and then for each one, for the edit one, we loop through all of them, and for each one, we pick the ID. Those ID we are assigning to the element here, this ID. So we pick the ID. When we pick the ID, because we're editing, we set is edit to be true, and then we set the edit ID. So we pick the ID, set the edit to be true, is edit to be true, set the edit ID. Then we pick the value of that element that we selected. So we pick the value of the element we selected. We assign it to this value element, and that value, which will be this, we assign it to this guy now, so that we're able to delete it. So we set the value of the test area element, which is this man, to be the value of the guy we clicked on. If it's a delete, for the delete event listener, all we need to do is to instead of like when they click on delete, instead of doing this, assigning that value to the test area, we are removing it entirely. So we'll pick the ID, and what do? We delete. So there is a keyword called delete that we can use to delete things from an object. So delete, and then you put what you want to delete. It can be block templates dot age if age exists, or .1 in this case now, because it's 1 and 2 we are using. excuse me, 1 0 and 2 or dot 3. But because we know what we're working with is actually not a string, a key per se, we will use the ID, which is this. So we say auth ID. Excuse me. And then this we delete that the value that's attached to that ID and that ID, that entry for that paragraph from our object, and then we display it again. If not, even if you delete it, you're not going to be getting it if you don't keep redisplaying this. For instance, I do this and I add, I do this and I add, and I click on this delete. It has deleted, but it's not redisplaying. So it's still there. For it to do this, I need to enable this. So that's the work of this display paragraph. Whenever there's any change, you want to display it so that it will take it will apply that change. Alright, so this is good, this is fine. Now what do you need to do next? Remember your assignment is supposed to be this, although I think for this one you don't need to do it anymore because we used the row or something. Oh, you still need to. I thought that corrected it. So guys, I'll look at the either Ami Akindele Sona now. I'll use whatever you guys did and add it here. That's you guys' contribution. So now we've done this and we've put a null checker or an empty checker for this guy. That's a validation for this guy. We also put did we put a validation for this? No. Oh, we did. So this one put validation, or we didn't put on this one. So now for us to implement this create, we need to so when we create this, actually that's when we create the real blog. So we need to pick whatever we have here, put it inside one string, all right, and then save it as a blog. That's what we need to do next. Okay, so does anyone have any question around this before I move on? I believe nobody has any question, so I'll move on. So next thing we need to do is to add an event listener to that button, that create button, or add it to the form, either way. So I'm going to add it to the form and put a type of submit. I'll put a type of submit on this guy, so that it's going to be submitting whatever is inside this form. And then I'll take this create blog form and add an event listener to it to keep track of when I click on that guy. So document.add the get element by ID. Which ID am I looking for? This. Then we'll add an event listener of submit to it. This is spelling of submit. Yeah, that's spelling. So add a submit to it and put a create blog function. All right, so let's create that create blog function. So this display paragraph and blog paragraph. So let me add that one here. Function create blog takes an event. Let's just say, so first of all I do e.prevent default, and then I do console.log blog templates. So because this is the guy we want to work with now, this guy, this blog template guy. So we want to see what's inside it when they click on create blog here. So we also need to do something, this thing we did here. So if there is if there is no value on, if this block template is empty and the the title, so if the title is empty and this is empty, we don't want to do anything. So we need to check if this guy has a value, and then if this too has a value. All right, so let's check for those two. Const title equals document dot element by id. What's the id? Let's put the id of the title. Block title doesn't have an id, so let's give it an id. Example from control input 1. Okay, so it has an id from Bootstrap. I'm going to use the id that way. You can change it to your own id. So here's that. Get element by id this dot test content. Alright. We also fetch the next thing we fetch is this guy. So this block this guy is an object. So if it's empty, if it's empty, that means there's nothing inside it. Like if it doesn't have any key, then there is nothing inside it. So we either check whether it has a value or whether it has a key. So let's check if it has a value or a key, sorry. So if title, that means if title has a value. Yeah. So if title and objects, these are pick out things from an object dot keys. The first one we did values, are we? I think so. This will do object dot keys. Which object are we talking of? We're talking of block template. So if object dot keys, this will return an array. All right. Sometimes you can also, if you want to know how some objects methods work, look at, if you hover over it, VS Code will suggest what it does. So it's telling you is a method coming from this object constructor dot keys. It takes an object as the first parameter, takes so which is a type of a string array. So these are what the variable, then it has one overload. I don't need to explain what this overload is for at this point. It takes an object, returns a string, an array of a string array, and then takes one overload. So whenever I see this, that means this was returning what whatever the method is returning. The one in brackets or parentheses is the parameter is taken, or the argument is taken rather. So it's taking an object and then returning an array of string. So it's also explained here. It returns the name of the enumerable string properties and methods of an object. The parameter, it takes parameter called O. That parameter is an object that contains the properties and methods. This can be an object that you created or existing document, blah 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 blah. So VS Code has a way of explaining some of these things to you. You could go through this if you don't understand how it works and understand what it takes and what it returns and what it does. All right. So if there is a title and object.keys, so pick out the keys in this object, return an array of that key. So I need to check if that array has something. So how do I check it? I check the length. So it's going to return, I check the length is greater than 0. That means it has something, right? Then I can continue this thing. All right. So if title, I could make this better and say anytime you come here, do const is valid input my battery. Give me some time, guys. Let me. Where did I stop? All right. So const is valid input or valid valid block, whatever we call it. title and object dot keys is greater than it. So this is like a shorthand. So this means there is a title and object dot keys the length is greater than 0. So I can put this here, so it's more readable this way. So if it's valid input, then do whatever we want to do. In this case, we just want to console log the block template. So let's try it out and see if it works. So if I do this, let's check our console. Cannot read properties of no reading text contents, line 43. So it's saying this is null. Get element by it's supposed to be a string. So this is one of the issues with JavaScript. If I was in another language, it would tell me, if to flag that as an error, tell me that this referencing to a null or something. But JavaScript will just leave you until you start running it, and then it will start complaining. So this is not happening. Now if you put a title here and do this, it's still not happening. It's not an email address, so hold on. It's not an email address. So. So nothing is happening yet, and then I add this. Still nothing is happening until I add it here as a paragraph. Now if I console log, nothing is happening yet, so there's an issue. Let's find out what the issue is. At this point I'm expecting it to console log block template. So let's find out let's console log this guy to see what the issue is. There's gonna be a dot here. So add a value here, add a value here. Hold on. She's telling nothing. How is that possible? Okay, so let me do this. Because this is comparing two things, so maybe this is they're individually returning different values that are conflicting. JavaScript has a way of not giving you the error. Still empty. Let me also log this title. Let's see what's inside it. Yeah, so I think that title is empty. That should be the problem. It's empty. Or I'm also logging the wrong thing actually. Also empty. Line 45. Line 45 is empty. Yeah, Rinzo. So let's find out why it's empty. Document.get element by ID, blah blah blah. Ariza, you want to say something?
Sir, the title, are we accessing the title, the length of the title?
Are we speak up a little? Is are we doing what?
Is it possible accessing the length
It's empty. It's
of
empty.
the title?
It's an empty string, so I don't know why it's an empty
Like
string.
looking at
Your line is breaking, Arinze.
okay, sir, but you have to
Line 45 and 48. What are you saying, Arinze? I was struggling to hear you.
okay. Has it worked? Yeah, I was asking if it's possible to access the length of title thread.
Okay, so I think it's actually the text content I'm accessing that's the issue. So let me look at it. So I have this guy here. So this is an input. Oh, it's not text content. That's the issue. It's an input. Inputs don't have, like, we access their value, not their text content. We access the text content of elements, regular element, but this is an input. I just remembered now. So looking at this, I figured it out. That is an input, it's not a regular element. So it's the value we are accessing. Alright? So this should give us a better outcome now. So because that guy doesn't have text content, it was returning empty string. Now we can see what's
Okay,
returning.
yeah, it's true.
It was returning empty string. So now we can, yeah, so I could take this out. I was thinking maybe it's trying to do the comparison from the left hand first. Or makes more sense now. So we want to console log the block. So see what's in the block. And then move on. So this, yeah. So now we can see it. So what do we want to do? We want to pick out all of these strings. Keep it in one place again like we did before. And save it in local storage. That's what I want to do. So how were we doing it before? We did a join. So this gives us the array. Or instead of, we could actually save it as an object directly. Yeah, we could save it as an object directly so that when we fetch it, we'll call this display paragraph. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's not stress ourselves. We'll save it directly as an object and then call this display paragraph whenever you get it. So what are we going to do? We'll call local storage. So now I'm going to create a storage class. As much as possible, I'm trying not to be doing a lot in one page, because if it's too long, it's going to become bulky and less more difficult to read. So let me create another class like we did in alerts. So I'm going to copy what we have here, and I'll create another. I call it storage. I hope JavaScript doesn't have a storage class to avoid wahala. Yeah, I think it doesn't. So let's just continue. If you have a conflict, we'll change the name. So storage, I'll paste this guy here. Instead of show alert, I'm going to call it storage. Alright. And then, so set item, yeah. We'll have set item in local storage. So I'll say save. Yeah, that's a very terrible word. Then save. And then I'll have another one, retrieve. Alright, it's gonna be, remember this is a shorthand way of writing functions, right? No need to explain this now. We're all big guys, so we all understand all of this. So also should also have updates. Alright. Now, To save something, we receive the key which is going to be a oh sorry, I thought I was writing JavaScript and TypeScript. The key is going to be a string, and then the value. Those are the two things I'm going to receive. And what do? We say, so let's say we want to check if something already has that key in our local storage. So this makes more sense. So I'm going to do local storage dot get item with key. Alright, so existing item equals this guy. So if if existing item we need to throw an error, it's the error message key already. Remember, we'll save those things with keys just like we do in objects. So if you give us a key that's already having something, we don't want to replace that thing. Alright, so key already exists. This should work. So if there's no existing item, then continue. So this throw will stop execution. Once you throw an error, the execution stops. So we don't need to put an else, because the only time it can continue if this didn't happen. Else, we do the actual saving, which is the set item. The key is going to be the key, and the value is going to be, remember, we'll pass it as JSON. So JSON the stringify, sorry, we'll stringify it using the stringify value, whatever value is. Alright, now the only place might be if value is a string. I don't know how JavaScript is going to handle that. I think it might throw an error. So probably need to check if so let's check if value is a string. So value equals value dot type of value, not value dot type of value equals object. So if it's objects, but then the question is, do we actually need to save anything that is not an object in local storage? No. But let's just do it. So if value is an object, then stringify it, else just pass value directly. So if an object, stringify it, else pass value directly. I hope this works. So to retrieve an item, we provide a key, and then local storage dot get item with the key as provided. So say return. Alright, so our meeting will soon end. I'm actually take notes. So we retrieve the item, we return it. So when we save an item, I think we don't need to return anything. That's fine. So to update, we do local storage dot modify. I think that's what they call it. Is it updates? Let me look at set item, get item, remove item, clear key length, blah blah blah. I think that's all. So to update, we fetch the item with the key provided, and alright. So I think save is going to do the same job for update for us, with update for us. So the next one might be to remove an item. Yeah, so remove key, and then all right, so local storage dot remove item with the key. So this is our storage class. We're going to import the storage class in where we're using it, create log. So we're going to import it in create log. Storage should come after we've loaded this. Alright. So I don't need all of this. All of this, we don't need it. Assets, streets, storage.js. Alright, we load storage.js, then we go to our blog.js. We see if where is that guy, where is that create blog? Yeah, so if this is happening, all we need to do is to save these templates. Alright, so we create a blog we create a blog so const blog equals, so blog is going to have the user. I know we have a user ID. Let me check our user again. There's a user ID, application, local storage. Yeah, so blog users has name, email. So I think we're tracking them with the email. So tracking them with the email. Yeah. So track it with the email. Emails are unique. So the user, if you say the user, it will be the email. You all remember where we'll save this user now? We'll save this user in our database or local storage from login in bar. So in this case now, all we need to do is to find the logged in user, find the email of the logged in user, and we'll find the email of the logged in user and use it to save, like save the block, because every user is going to have their own block. So we used to save the block for that user. So let's switch to the next meeting, guys. So let's switch to the next meeting. Alright, so hope you guys can hear me.
Yes,
Alright. Also let me know when you can see my screen. So we need to have blocks and a blocks object, and inside the blocks we have keys to map the users, and those keys are going to be the user names. So first of all, that's the email of the users. So first of all, we need to fetch the logged in user. Alright, So fetch the logged in user using this key. This is the key. I can't remember what we saved. I don't think we saved it, but we did it in login. So let's use this key. So initialize local storage here. Storage. Storage service because let me call this storage service. I have a strong feeling there is a class called storage, so let me call it a storage service. Storage service equals new. Yeah, there's a class called storage. New storage service. So this is our one. So we need to retrieve when we click on create blog. We need to retrieve the logged in user. All right. So cons logged in user equals storage service dot retrieve. What's the key? The key is logged in user. Yeah, that's the key. Logged in user. So I'm going to be taking it a step at a time. Let's console log this just to make sure we are getting it. Put this here, put this here. Go to console. Yeah, so we're getting the logged in user. So we need to get the email of that logged in user. Now we need to correct something. Remember, when we fetch something from this guy, we need to pass it to JSON. Alright, so pass it through JSON, sorry, not to JSON. So this will convert it to proper JSON. If you notice, what I console log was showing strings, it wasn't showing a proper object. So say JSON.pass this. So if you do it again, it should give us a proper object now. So now we're getting a proper object, no longer that string we're getting before. So these two, okay, I think this is the only time we're returning something, so that's fine. Yeah. So if is a valid email, a valid input, then fetch the user. All right, fetch the user, and then when we fetch the user, we create a block for the user. We fetch the list of existing blocks, if any, and then we update it and save it back. So those are the things we're going to do. All right. So we'll create the blog. So the blog is going to have the user. So the user is going to be logged in user.email. Email. And then content is going to be block templates. Remember, guys. So this block template is an object containing our blog. Let's put a timestamp on it. Timestamp, okay, yeah, let me call it date created. That's what it actually means. Dates created. date created, which is new dates. Let's use this. So this is a class in JavaScript that will give us the current date. So new date dot, it's going to give us a very lengthy one. I want to shorten it to date string. I think this is fine. So let me just do a quick one here and find out the exact one I want to use. Console.log new dates dot so date string. So I'm also going to do another one to string. There's another one that's to local string, local time string, locally time string. I think these two should do. They should give us what we're looking for. I'm looking for a date that's close to what human beings. Yeah, so the first one is fine. Saturday, July 8th, 2023. This one is too long. So we'll go with this one. So we'll go with the first one, date string. So created at this dot to this. Alright. What else do we need to add? Nothing. That will be it. So this creates a blog, and then we fetch the list of blocks. Const blocks equals storage service dot retrieve blocks. This will be the key the key we are going to use for saving our block. So retrieve block. So blocks is going to be this, or if there's nothing on it, empty array. So this is all in JavaScript. So if this is null or undefined, then assign an empty array to it. Alright. So this so we could actually make this to be an object, blocks to be an object, with the key, with this the email as a key. So that way we don't need to loop this through this array. Alright, so let's make it an object instead. So if blocks dot this guy, if this guy has a value, so if blocks, sorry, whatever is here, this email, then we so we need to add this to the array. Alright, so this array of this guy's block. So if blocks has a key with this email, that means this person already has an existing block. Then what do we need to do? We say blocks which is an array dot push what are we pushing inside it? This block. Else, let me reduce this. Else, if he doesn't have anything yet, that means it's a new one. Then instead of pushing, we should just assign. Assign it. I could do this, an array of, I could do this. Alright. So if it doesn't have anyone, just make it put this inside an array and assign it to this guy. Because we want this guy to be an array of this man's blog. The man with this email. Who doesn't understand this? So first off, let's run it and see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll update it, get it to work, and then we'll start looking for who understands it. So let me take this. At this point, I need to display an error message. So else do this. Yeah? Ask a question, your question if you want.
I'm just looking at.
I can hear you. Continue, Arinze.
Yes, what if we decide to just declare empty array? So whenever it's valid, then just push that.
Say again. I didn't get exactly. I didn't get what you said exactly.
Okay, I'm just saying, what if we just declare empty array, like for this logged in user?
Which line?
So
Which line are you talking of?
I'm talking of 52, 53, 54.
All right. So empty array for this one, right?
Instead of me having dot push, then coming to have else is equal to that block you have. What if you just kind of declare empty array, then if you meet that condition, then just push.
All right. So let me explain. That was what I wanted to do, but then I thought of something, right? We are assuming there is no one user that is on this, that is going to be using it on this system. Normally, in the real sense, this is supposed to be happening backend, which means obviously you're going to be having more than one user. So you don't want to have all the users blog inside one array. You want to have a list of the blocks and then separate them according to the user. So to do that, I could use either an array or an object. But in this case, I'm using an object, and in my head, I have an object that looks like has a key arinze at gmail.com. An object that had this key, and then what am I assigning to it? This block. Alright, and then I have another. Why is showing error? Expected where? Okay, false blocks equals, yeah, blocks is okay. Let me just add this twice. Yeah. So I now have another one. User at gmail.com. That will have another blog, assign it to blog. Now, whenever I want to fetch blogs, I'm going to fetch only the one that has this key. I don't know if you understand. So now that I want to update it, I want to update these blogs. If it returns, it's going to return this object or an empty object if nothing is in it. So if it returns this object or an empty object, I'm going to check if this object has this key with this email. So if it has this key with this email, remember this is going to be an array, sorry. This is going to be an array. Because this guy can have more than one blog. So it's going to be an array of blocks. Alright? So if it has this key, I pick out whatever is in this key, which is an array. Then when I pick out that thing that's in this key, which is an array, I push the next one into it. So if it's this one I picked out, I push another one, it will now have 2 blocks. Does it make sense, Arinze?
Okay, yes, sir. I
Yeah.
understand.
So another way to make this simpler is to just have a block for each person. That means for me to fetch the block for Arinze, I have to like have a special key for Arinze. In which case I can be using their email directly, saving it directly with their email. Alright. But then if you look at it, just be seeing emails as key. You won't see that block and say, okay, you now go inside it and see what's inside it. So if everybody understands this, I will move on with it because I think this makes more sense than saving it directly. Is there anybody that has any question? At least now. No, right? Alright, so let's move on. So let's try to save something. CSS is the title. Let's look at our local storage. Nothing is there yet. So we'll have CSS. CSS means cascading style sheet. Alright. CSS makes your interface look lovely. Yeah. What is the CSS? We use CSS to style HTML elements. Alright. Add create blog. Okay, so I think we'll have an error. Nothing is happening and we are not getting any error, so let's find out why. So when I click on this initial icon, blah, if it's value inputs, alright, so okay, so we are not saving it back, that's why we're not seeing it. So after we assigned blocks, blah blah blah, this, then we'll save these blocks back. Where is it coming from? Where's blocks? Yeah, this is it here. So we save it back. So storage service dot save. What key? Blocks. What are we saving? So this is a key, it's a string. What are we saving? Blocks. So this should be empty paragraph. Empty block. Okay, let me write a sentence and make sense. You cannot save an empty block. I was screaming at you.
What if we use create?
You said?
Cannot create empty or something.
Alright, so I have an issue with this. When it's here and we'll do this again, it recreates without taking this out. So we need to find a way to pass the states of this guy into this place before it creates another one. How do we do that? The show alert. So let's probably make this guy accept something. Where is that show alert? I'm coming back to what you're saying, Arinze. Let me see what I'm saying here. If you notice, if I do this, it shows this. If I close it, I can create another one. But if I create, I click. Okay, let's say I click like 5 times now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It actually created 5 copies of this thing. So I need to click 5 times again to close all of it. We don't want that to happen. So to solve that, I might need to ask. Alright, does someone say something? To stop that, yeah?
Sir,
Mm-hmm. Continue, Arinze.
what?
Arinze, I think your network is.
What if we decide to just like let's disable that grade 14?
Let's disable what? I'm struggling to hear what you're saying, Arinze. Alright, so let's continue. So we could put a state. Huh?
I don't know if you have other alternatives. I was just thinking if we can set disable to be true for that grade 14, then if that condition is met, we set disable to be false.
I don't know if I got you correctly, Arinze. You say we disable what? We disable. Explain with this. Arinze.
Okay, see, that grade button,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
let's disable it.
Okay, okay.
Let's
So it can
disable
only
that
be
grade
enabled
button.
when this is
So
ready to
by
go.
default, is disabled. But then, if those conditions are disabled to false,
Yeah, that's another way to do this too. We could
yes,
actually
when those
also do
conditions are
that.
met, then it's enabled. Of course, alert can still be doing its work there, but
Can also do that,
submission.
yes. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's do what Arinze suggested. So Arinze is saying, no, here, this button, this JS. So Arinze is saying this button. Okay, hold on. I'm picking the form, not the button. So let me go and pick that button. So that doesn't actually solve the problem of having multiple distinct created, but then it stops us from even creating it in the first place. So Arinze is saying, why create it? Why find why solve the problem by stopping multiple creation instead of even stopping creating it in the first place? That's the logic Arinze is bringing out. So if you don't need to create it, why do you want to even stop it from creating multiple ones? Why not just stop it from being created in the first place? So I'm going to go to this place. Where's that btn for create blog? Somewhere around here. So I'm going to give it an ID of create blog btn. And say disable. I think there is a disabled. Yeah. So this will disable it. Yeah. So this,
What if we do it in the JavaScript?
yeah, we'll do it with JavaScript. So it's going to be disabled by default. Now we turn it on with JavaScript. You get?
Yes, sir.
So we'll come here, and then when we click on this submit, okay, we don't even need to put this submit here. Let me put this submit here. So let me put this submit here. So I'm gonna say what will trigger it now. I'm looking for what will trigger it. So it's going to be triggered by this add block. So whenever we add block, Yeah, Arinze is forcing us to change our structure a little, but that's fine. So whenever we add block, then we need to do that our check for valid inputs now. So anytime we add block, we do this check. So let's add block. We add block, we display the paragraph. Excuse me. Or maybe right before we display the paragraph. Or after. Yeah. After we display the paragraph, we'll do this. Title, we need to fetch title. Title is here. So let's fetch title. Guys, don't mind Arinze. Arinze always find a way to make us try things. So we're trying the things he wants us to try now. So we fetch the title and then we check if it's valid. So if it's valid, then we enable that button. So I'm gonna pick this ID. Yeah, but this is gonna give us all right, so yeah, that's fine. So if is valid, document dots, let me not make this document dot get elements element by ID. What ID? This guy. Dot attributes. Attributes. So what does it return? Name, node map. Returns a live collection of all attributes, blah 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 blah. Alright. So returns the a list of attributes. Key value pair of string. So attributes dots. Okay, let me console log it and see what's inside it. So whenever I want to display paragraphs, we console log. If it's valid input, we console log what is here. So let's try it. Most of these things are not really arrays, so it's always very careful when you are treating them like arrays. Alright, so returns, so returns an object which is a key value pair. So I'll treat it as an object. I'll pick this key, this disabled key. So it's disabled. Alright. Let's see what's inside it also. So disable this. So we need to remove disabled. How do we do that? How do we remove it? That's actually what we need to do. It's Igwe. It's been a while. Yeah, Rinze, continue. How you doing now?
Yeah, yes, sir, boss. Well done.
Yeah, well done.
Fine, I mean, one choice says, Smith be carrying me.
Yeah. No wala.
Well done, yeah.
Igwe, I say Igwe, sorry. Arinze, yeah.
Sir, let's make it this way instead of going through the HTML.
You want to use classes?
Let's get element by ID. then the
Okay, now set the
the
attributes.
element will now say dot disabled, so it's going to work
So,
instead
okay.
of like saying
Okay.
dot value, but now dot disabled, then set it to be true. Then in that condition, if it meets it, then we can now say dot disabled is false.
Let me check something. Right. Sorry, this is not what I want to do. Instead of console logging this, let me try this.
No, we don't need the attributes. I don't think.
Document.gets. Are you sure? Okay, let's try it. Let's try it. It's possible. Still not enabled, so let's try the attributes but disabled. Still not enabled. So let's see what we're gonna do, Arinze. This always a faster way for me to do something like this. So instead of using this attribute directly, I use this class. So I'm gonna put should be enabled by default. You guys can see the route Arinze is taking us to. It's Arinze. So I can have it disabled here. Have you? I think Bootstrap has a disabled class. Yeah, Bootstrap does. So I could easily manipulate this guy's class. Document.get member ID, blah blah blah. Class list. I'll remove disabled. It should work. So if I add this, yeah, so it's not enabled here. So else, Arisa, do you understand what I did?
I'm trying to.
Okay, I will explain. Else, I'll add disabled. Yeah, so if I do this, add this, it's then if I delete it. Okay, so I want when I delete it, I want it to be disabled back. So does delete called? Oh yeah. So I see why that was happening. So I need to put this logic inside the display paragraph so that anybody that calls that display paragraph will get it. Because right now delete is not calling display paragraph, or is it? So it's calling display paragraph, but then we need to do this also here. So instead of doing it in multiple places, let's do it inside here. Right after we display the paragraphs, then we can do this. Take out this empty space here, and then so this should work both ways now. If I add something and I remove it, it's enabled. If I remove it, it's going to be disabled. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So let me explain what happened, guys. So Arinze is saying instead of displaying this error message, let's not enable this button. That makes sense, and that's what we wanted to do. So what did we do? We went to our HTML and we disabled the button by default. We added an ID to it so that we can fetch it with the ID. We went to our JavaScript and we said the only time this thing will become enabled is if this something is here and something is here. And how do we check it? What should we put the trigger on? The thing here changes when this happens. So anytime we add a paragraph, check if there is something here and there is something here. If there is something in these places, then accordingly set, disable or enable this guy. So we went to display paragraph and we said once they call display paragraph, do whatever you need to do. Let me put it. Enable or disable creates blog button. So once they call this guy excuse me guys, once they call this guy, right, do whatever you want to do and then check if there is something in title and the paragraph had a valid have something in it, which means we have valid inputs. Then display the create button, which means remove that disabled class from the list of classes. Else, that means if it's not a valid input, add the disabled class back. Who doesn't understand it? I'll take that not everybody understands it, so I'll move on. So that's just an addition we did. In that case, we can remove this check here because we know the only time this can be clicked is when although I think, hold on, let me confirm. If I put this, okay, doesn't work. Yeah. So the only time this can be clicked is if there is a valid input, is when the button is activated, which is dependent on valid input. So I don't need to check for this valid input stuff anymore. All right, so we can take this out. We can take this check for valid input out of here. Does it make sense now? So let's continue.
Sir, please, can we confirm something like try it 2 times if it's going to work?
Try what 2 times?
I tried creating multiple blogs.
Yeah, it's gonna work. Oh, we are not resetting this. Although we don't need to reset it, the title doesn't. Yeah, we don't need to reset it because the title is the same. So we'll probably have, let's check our storage. We probably have saved, but we are not resetting. Yeah, it's saved. So this is blogs, and we have it. We have our blogs. So forget all this escape. This JSON.
Well, he
Trying to
said,
do this thing.
okay.
So what are you saying, Arinze?
What of after clicking on the create button, then automatically you can set block title to empty string, like
Yeah, we need to reset all of this.
clear off.
We
that,
reset this and we reset
block
this.
title.
Yeah, actually, we need to. We need to. So, but I'll tell you the best thing we'll do. We can reset this and reset this. But the best approach will be to reload this page because we want to add, we want whatever we saved to come here. So the best approach is killing like 3 birds instead of refreshing, resetting this, and then refreshing this list. If you refresh this page, it's going to refresh everything. So let's refresh the page. How do we do it? We stop this preventing defaults. So let's try it again. So create another blog. So let me delete this. So CSS stands for cascading style sheet. Alright. Add what else? CSS has creates good interfaces. Alright. So we create, we have our guy there. Alright. So Aris, if you notice, because I removed that now, this thing, the whole of this refreshes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we don't need to actually manually do it. We are the one that stopped it from refreshing. So now that I want it to refresh, we're like, okay, fine, you can refresh. So when it refreshes, the next thing we need to do is this guy. We could have added this directly to here, but remember, we are fetching it from local storage, so there is no point adding it directly to here. What we need to do is, whenever we load this page, fetch our blocks and display them here. Alright? So I'm going to go to... Does anybody have any question? It's only Ariza's voice I'm hearing. Amarachi, Akindele, Sebastian, I don't know. I think he's having network issues or something. So Amarachi and Akindele, are you guys with us?
Yes, sir.
Everything is clear and fine, right? Alright, so let's move on. Hope I'm still recording. Yeah. So what we need to do next is to load these blocks we have here now. We'll have like how many? We'll have one. Alright, we'll have one. So what we need to do is to load them. How do we do that? Excuse me, guys. So how do we do that? We check the div holding these guys. So let me look for that placeholder. This is it. So now I'm going to take out 2 and leave only 1. I'm actually going to take this one out too and leave the comments. Blog cards are inserted here. So I'll give it a div, an ID of block cards. Alright, so we fetch it and then we put this guy inside it. We'll have to take this out. So now we don't have any blocks. Everything is empty. So maybe we could just put some horizontal rule to make this look fine, but that's up to you guys to do. So what I'm going to do is I've taken out that our placeholder. I'll go to this place. I'll insert it dynamically. So whenever we load this page on content loaded, what are we going to do? We fetch blocks, and when we fetch blocks, we empty array. Right. So I need to take this storage service. So let me put this thing here. We'll come back for it. I need to take this storage service out of here. initialize it here. So also need to take out that logged in user because it's something we're going to be using somewhere around here. Yeah, so fed the logged in user and then blogs equals storage service retrieve blogs. I think that's what we call it, right? Yeah, we'll call it blogs. Storage service retrieve blogs. So retrieve blogs. We fetch. So we set this guy user blogs equals blogs that has logged in user email. Alright, so let's console log this guy and see what's inside it. If you don't understand what we did, let me know. Logged in user has already been declared at line 1. Line 1. Let's log the user. Where did I declare it? Oh, somewhere around here, yeah. No, I didn't declare it here. I'm using it. Create blog.js line 1. Log user has already been declared at line 1. Getting this on syntax identifier. Log the user has already declared line 1. We are not redeclaring. Yeah, declared it here.
The log have any connection?
You said?
Like the items here. The login user. I'm saying not like kind of.
Can you come closer to your system? Say again, Ariza.
The login user.
Yeah.
That login user, I hope is not kind of detecting it from the local storage, like any property related.
No, it's saying this guy has been declared already here in line 1, and I don't see how that works. So I'm looking at the error. So let me do something. To avoid the unnecessary grammar. And also do it for this guy. So let's see. So I guess after this thing loads, so I think that's the issue. After it loads, it tries to redeclare this stuff. I think that's what's causing it. So this, I think this man is trying to redeclare this stuff. So where is the reuse storage service? So cannot pass it before initialization. Yeah, am I passing it before initialization? Okay, here, yeah. Cannot access blocks before initialization. Blocks. Oh yeah, this. What's console logging this? This SZ whatever. Where's it coming from? So this is undefined. Now it shouldn't be undefined because we have something here in blocks. So it shouldn't be undefined. I don't know where this thing is coming from. But it's not from our code obviously. So let's ignore it. So user blocks, let me console log this and see what we have there. User blocks to be an object. Yeah? Well, our meeting is about to end. Machi, did you drop another? Yeah, you can create another one. Let's round up here. Why is this undefined? Hold on a second. Let me check something. I think that's not returning an object. What this? Yeah, I think that's the issue. Returning a string. Alright. JSON.pass. This is supposed to pass it. Being passed. So this is not returning an object, it's returning a string. That's a problem. What did we save? So let me try to pass it again. But then that's an issue because let me try to pass it again and see if that's the issue. So that's the issue. Now we have an object that has the real thing. So, but why do I need to pass it 2 times? Alright, so let's switch. We'll find a better way of doing that. Let's switch to another next meeting. We're rounding off already. That'll be the last thing we need to do. So you can move to the other guys, the other class guys. Yeah, so you guys move to the next one and then I'll share screen there and we'll continue. Are we here yet? So I'll continue. So I think there is a big issue with what we are saving. That's what's giving us. So I think JavaScript is trying to do a lot of escape, adding a lot of this thing on it because of the structure of what we're saving.
Sir, your microphone is muted.
Oh, thank you. I didn't notice. So I believe JavaScript is trying to added some escape to the strings. So the stringify is like trying kind of like did it into this thing. Because if you notice, we had a string with these escapes on it, and then it had to like pass. I had to pass it twice before it turned to an object, which is actually what we wanted. So I'll try to avoid that. Alright, so what I might do is we already have our object which has the templates here. So where is that place we're creating the blocks? Let's look at what we're saving. That would be the best place to handle this. So we are saving create a blog, alright, that has this guy. Alright, so this guy is an object. Alright. So we can make this guy an array. Or not. Yes. Yeah, actually, this guy needs to be. Because when we're displaying this, how do we display it? That's what we need to look at now. Where is that display paragraph here? So we want to display it to make it an array, a string of HTML. Yeah, that's what we might need to do. So let's save it as a string, which it is. Let's save it as a string. But we might have some issues with the preview, which we also have if you save it as an object. So better off, let's save it as a string. So let's save it as a string. Where are we saving it? I can't see where I was saving it. Okay, here. So templates will be this. And then we add this inside this. Hopefully this helps us make our life easier. Alright, so this hopefully makes our life easier. Let me remove what we had here. Look at this. Display blocks and see what's inside it. Still giving us a string. User user and then contents. So there's contents, there's contents. So it seems that didn't still work. So actually I'm going to pass it twice, but I'll find out why this thing needs us to pass it twice. It doesn't make sense, but I'll find out why. So let me remove this, saving this as a string. I'm always looking for this place I'm saving. Yeah, this is it. Yeah. So blocks, I'll put JSON.parse here. Sorry. JSON.parse blocks, and then we pick out the one for the email here. So let's see what this is. Yeah, so this is what we're looking for. Just this user should actually be the name, not the email. So this is fine now. Let's go to where we are saving. Instead of making user, I say this dot. I think it's username we called it. Let me look for the exact thing we called it. Login user. So it's called name, not username. So username. Yeah. Alright, so been able to fetch the blocks. Now we need to fetch this guy anytime this page loads. So we need to fetch this guy, create an element with that template and insert it inside this guy. How do we do that? We already have user blocks here. Then we come down to so let me call a function display, sorry, existing, let's say display blocks. So I'll create a display blocks function. Document the elements, which I did this block card. So I get the elements block cards element equals this guy. So when I get it, that's actually where I'm supposed to do all of these things. So we'll keep that place clean. So I get all of these guys. And then we'll get this card. Then we'll create the elements and put it inside here. So let's create this element. So let's create a string template. One string comes cards, sorry. Cards equals cards templates. String. Then we're going to loop through this user blocks. It's an array, so loop through it. For each of it, we'll pick the content. For each of it, we'll put this card. So I think something is missing. Missing. Scroll by this. Okay. Alright. So for each of these, we are going to create card equals a string that will house this guy. A string that will house these guys. And are we still together? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Alright.
Yes, sir.
Alright. So for each of them, then we'll create a string that has these guys. And then inside that string, we want to display the title here. And then we'll display the DC, but this is going to give us an issue because remember, now our guy, but we'll display it. We'll display it first, and then we'll see how it goes. We'll display it here and see how it goes, but it's going to be so much. It's going to be lengthy. Then we'll have the link here. We'll put the link here. All right. So let's go to let's look at this guy now. Are we even saving the title? I doubt if you are. So I think that's one mistake we made. We are not saving the title. Where is that title again? It's in display paragraph. We called it in display paragraph. So let's fetch its title here. Alright. So where are we? So we're going to put display the title first here. So this blog, we need to replace this title. Blog dot what's going to be inside it. Blog dot title. Alright. And then this is going to be blog dot content. So at this title we can also just put a span here and put blog dot date created or something. What do we call it? Date created. I might put a class font size. I don't know whether it's ascending or descending. Let's see. So for each of these, we increment this. Okay, we don't even need to assign it separately. We just say cat templates plus equals this. When you're done, you set it inside this guy. So outside this loop, inner HTML will be this guy. All things being equal, this should work. Yeah. So it did, but then just like I told you, our guy is too large. So let me reduce the size of this first, size of the title. So this should be FS1. It's too much. What's the Bootstrap class 2? Let me not bother myself so much about it. I could just write a style here. Yeah, I'm not supposed to do this, but let me do it. Style, font, size. %, so 30% of whatever is existing already. Hopefully this should be it. Yeah, I reduced it. So 30% is too small, so I'll make it 60. Alright. So why is the title showing undefined? Yes, because we did save it. It's true. It's true. So we can say title or empty string, just so we don't get that undefined. Yeah. But normally you are supposed to save it. I'll just delete that guy. You should have a title. So, you remember what I said about this assignment? I told you guys this is supposed to be smaller. This is supposed to wrap. So I'll make it smaller, but you guys have to make it wrap. Alright? Are we still together? So let me make it smaller. Someone can help us and write a CSS or find out a Bootstrap class we can use for this. Someone is giving out background noise. Yeah? I can hear you.
But anytime we should limit it to 16 characters, then the rest should be.
And you guys have done it already, right?
Yes, I think the one that you talked about wrapping.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually talking of the same thing. I was referring to the same thing. So if you guys have done it, I will use the one you guys have done already. So this font size is 50%. I actually want this to be smaller. Why is it not taking effect? Am I making any mistakes? Style, font size 50%. Oh, so I think I have enough font size here too. Still didn't change a thing. Alright, so I'll leave this to you guys. Take care of it. I don't know why it's not, but I think that's thing you guys. Yeah? That thing you guys worked on will take care of this. Alright?
Okay, yeah. We've done that.
You've done it already, so it will take care of it. Let me clear this and then we'll create another blog. So let me clear blog. And then if we refresh, we don't have it anymore. So we can create a CSS. C stands for cascading style sheet. Alright. Helps make our interface lovely. Alright, then we'll create, and then we'll have it. What just happened here? How do I get an object of object? And then we'll have it here. Alright, so I find out we're having object of object now. That's strange. We didn't have it before. contents, date created, title, user, blog.title, blog.content, date created. I really don't understand why this is showing objects of objects right now. And that's the content. So let me console log the contents. I hope it's not an array. Okay, content is an object. Yeah, when it's more than one, it's an object. That makes sense. So if content is an object, then we need to join it. Yeah. I probably should have joined it before saving. That will save us the stress. Let's join it before saving. So the content is an object. Remember, we're using object to track it, and I'm putting it here as if it's a string. So instead of joining it as we are displaying, let's join it when here. So let's join it when we are creating it, which happens here. So this should take care of that one. I'll just clear this guy. CSS. Talking of CSS. CSS stands for cascading style sheet. CSS helps make our interfaces lovely, right? Yeah. So this should post work now. Try to make this guy fix. So if we're able to have a class tomorrow, by then I'll take whatever you guys have, or in fact Arinze. In fact, it's not Arinze. I won't give you Arinze this thing. Who will I give it to now? Akindele, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
I want you to pull this code between today and tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Pull this code.
Okay.
Try to wrap this. So what we're going to do is, we are saving this with Now I see what we did here. We are saving it with this. No. We are not supposed to save it with this. I'm not supposed to save it with this. I actually didn't see these buttons. I'm supposed to save only the text. We saved with the buttons. Let me look at what we are saving again. Sorry. That was a very big oversight from us. We are supposed to save only this. We're supposed to save only this. Even without the ID, you're not even supposed to save it with the ID. You're not supposed to save only a div with this value, or a paragraph with this value. So let me try and do that. So where is that place we are doing that? Paragraph to edit. So we fetch. Looking for the best way to do this now. Edit btn. So edit btn, we fetch the parents element of this guy. So we could fetch all of these guys. Mm, get their parent elements. Alright, so let's leave it for next class. We saved it wrongly. I didn't notice until now. So we're supposed to pick out only the content. Let's leave this for next class. Supposed to pick out only the content and save, but we're saving with the button. We're not supposed to save with the button. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we saved HTML, the whole HTML with the button and everything. So we'll look at that by next class. We've really stayed so late today. It's past 9 already. So guys,